Aloha everyone and welcome to another Tinker's Academy video. I'm your host Kay Elmer, and in this video it's another installment in the series Benefits of Quantum Healing as it relates to allergies. So in this video I will be sharing with you the background behind quantum healing and the research we've discovered as it relates to treating individuals with allergy symptoms and allergy problems. Also, we've got the preliminary results of the first study ever done by an independent third-party institution on quantum healing with allergies. And also the testimonies that we've got from our Telegram community in terms of using the different tools that have been provided by Leela Quantum Tech in helping their own allergies or the ones around them. So let's get started. Right off the bat, the most interesting thing about allergies and the idea of quantum healing, aka frequency medicine, is that it's actually depending on the type of allergy you have, it'll be a different modality that seems to work best with that, that variation. So there's a distinct difference between seasonal allergies and food allergies when it comes to quantum healing. So right off the bat, so I just want to level set on the difference here, is that people who are suffering or are looking for something as a solution towards seasonal allergies, congestion, sneezy, runny nose, itchy eyes, that sort of thing. I call it, the hay fever response. There's going to be a different approach to, working with that in terms of quantum healing as you would have if you were to have a food allergy, which is something that would make your throat swell up, hives, itching, wheezing, abdominal pain, issues with having to sit on the toilet, that sort of thing. So there's a distinct difference. So in that difference lies, each one has its own way of finding relief through quantum healing. So this is what we've discovered so far. When it comes to seasonal allergies, we've discovered that molecular frequencies work really well with seasonal allergies. So a few years ago, I was asked through the community to come up with like what we used to call it, the allergy relief booster. And so essentially I compiled a list of substances. You can see here on the left here is astragalus, Benadryl, Clearguard, so forth. And I put together a frequency set called the allergy booster, now called seasonal relief. And for those of you who don't know what that is specifically, it's just real quickly, a physical substance. Every physical substance in the universe is broken down to the smallest particles, and usually it's atomic or subatomic particles. But the idea here is that all particles, all molecules, all atoms have all these little particles that are spinning around. And all that motion, that vibration, creates a frequency. So if you want, you can go onto YouTube and you type in molecular frequencies, and you get pages and pages and pages of different professors and grad students explaining the physics and the calculations behind molecular frequencies. So it's a real thing. So these frequencies of these substances, right, are what can be copied using quantum tools. You can copy a frequency of a substance onto another object, usually metal card, whatever, jewelry, you name it, coins, and then you can carry that frequency around with you that's embedded in that object. And that frequency then reacts with your biofield and then produces, the desired effect. So what I've got here for you from the concept of seasonal allergies is I created actually, the seasonal relief booster. It's made up of the molecular frequencies of this substance, and in theoretical, these frequencies all combine to create some kind of a biofield harmonic that works with your own energy field, and that's why it works. So, for this one, there's been no study, because typically this was just a product development thing where I created something, it gets tested with a pilot group, it gets good results. By the way, nothing goes onto the website unless it gets tested in a pilot, and then once we get positive results from numerous people, then it goes onto the website for sale. So it passed that, it went on the website for sale, and people have been using it for over for a couple of years now. So there have been some very positive testimonies I want to share with you to kind of give you an idea of what people are experiencing with using the frequency for seasonal allergies for that particular type of situation. So the very first testimony I want to share with you is from Philip von Holzendorf himself, the owner of Leela Q. So the other day, I think it was like about a month ago, Philip posted in the Telegram chat group Ian Mitchell and I on Sarah Westall's latest Business Game Changers, it's a podcast. In case somebody wonders about my frequent eye blinking in this particular interview, I had a heavy pollen allergy come up right the night before. Eyes itch, nose clogged, sneezing, not much good sleep. But for the interview, Philip took the seasonal frequency card and set his quantum upgrade on a booster. And then while his eyes were still dry and his face looked like a little worn, the nose was fully free again, no sneezing, no itching. And so that's just one example of him using the frequency card for allergies. When he had allergy symptoms, it went away. Now, there's another testimony out there from Barbara, and she goes on to say, again, I want to say how great the allergy card is. My husband forgot it yesterday, and we were all out all day and later evening. He was miserable by the end. We got home, I reminded him of the allergy card. He reports that he laid down with the card on his chest, and within 3 minutes, everything cleared and he could breathe and sleep. He says normally he cannot lay down as he cannot breathe. Thanks, Kay. Now, a couple of more testimonials on the seasonal allergy frequency from Nora. She writes, the allergy relief booster has worked for me. If I catch things quick enough and put on the bracelet to which I copied the frequency, hives usually don't bloom, and I still use antihistamines but have to use much less. Another individual called Branch reported, mowing season has started, and typically every time I mow, I go to bed with my eyes watering, nose itching, and the whole face, feeling miserable. None of that is happening so far. Wearing the Heal capsule with the allergy card, it feels like the histamine starts to creep up on me, and I did sneeze a few times on the mower, but then it backs off and I'm fine. It doesn't take hold at all. Very excited, and I'm hoping it sticks as the season progresses. So that's pretty cool. Now from Jamie, this is what I want to really kind of stress. Jamie's got this great testimony. And by the way, these are all on Telegram in our public chat group. Well, it's a private chat group, but it's open to the public once you join it. And so you can read these testimonies that people are writing. These are just from everybody else. It's just unsolicited community member feedback. So, this is straight from the horse, actually. So Jamie reports, I just made my own frequency card and it's working fabulously. It is so windy and dusty here I live right now, and where I live right now, and my allergies were so bad. I couldn't go outside longer than 5 minutes at a time. I didn't want to wait to order a card, and I have a QB, which is a quantum block. So I used a combo of herbs that helped me, and I've been carrying the card with me and no allergies. It's amazing and so exciting to have access to this incredible technology. So with that, I want to remind everybody that if you have a block, you can make your own frequencies. You can, cards. You can make your own boosters. You can do your own thing just like I did. Or, obviously you can go to the website and buy one. But the idea, though, is that if it's something that, molecular frequencies works well with, that's something that all of us mere mortals, have access to. And so it's something that's really exciting because it says not only, do these substances work that I used, but also that, Jamie came up with her own and it worked, which is kind of cool because it not only validates the concept that it works, it also emphasizes the fact that you guys have a really powerful tool. If you own a block, don't hesitate to use them. All right. Okay. So now the next thing we talk about in terms of allergies. So that takes care of seasonal. Let's talk about food allergies. And the first thing about food allergies is I want to share with you a disclaimer from Philip, the founder of Leela Q, just to make sure everybody's really on the same page with this one. So the disclaimer for food allergies, using quantum healing for food allergies. The disclaimer is as follows. Please do not try this at home because we do not yet have enough data to provide proper guidance for this application, and we can't make any claims either yet. Usage for the sake of easing allergic responses is therefore solely at everyone's own risk. Our products have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease or health condition. All right, with that out of the way, how this all started was, again, it's just things that people do that then they share, because it's a very collaborative, heartwarming, really close-knit group of people. We're over 6,000 now on Telegram. And so somehow it came about where, it started where people were saying, hey, I put something in the block and then, it helped the allergic response that I would normally have, from this food. that I'm eating. So how it all really kicked off was there was a Biohacker conference last year that Philip and Ian Mitchell, who's the science advisor for for Leela Q, and they were up on stage. Dave Asprey was there. These, just biohackers, right? Really famous biohackers. And they did this experiment live in front of this audience. The video link will be in the description below. And they did this test, and basically at the end of the day, they had this guy, Todd, the biohacker, super allergic to shellfish. They took one sample, and without any treatment, any quantum treatment at all, and he broke out in hives. And then they treated the second sample from the same can, some kind of shellfish, and they put it in a block for, I believe, 6 to 7 minutes, and then they tried it again on Todd. Absolutely no reaction. And so it's in the video. You can see it yourself, and then you'll find out that it's just. And they show his arms before and after, or actually there was 2 separate arms. One treated, one not treated with quantum, and the one that was not treated is normal, and the one that was not treated, that was just all, had nothing but hives on it. So really interesting experiment that they did live at the Biohacker conference, which led to a lot of us going, hey, I want to try that, albeit we ignored the disclaimer. But the whole idea, though, is it really kind of made people who have problems with stuff start thinking, hey, wonder what if that would work for me. So again, the disclaimer is, and I want to emphasize this, but this is all really new. This is quantum healing as it relates to food allergies, very, very new in terms of discovery. There's an actual study I'm going to share with you that preliminary results I'll share with you in a second. But this is amazing. This is truly amazing that it can do this. And so, in light of like the frequency medicine and in relation to seasonal allergies, I shouldn't be too surprised. But, if you expand on what this means to other things, then you'll start to grasp how important this is. So the first thing I want to share was because of the results of this experiment that they did at the Biohacking conference. Then what Philip did was he commissioned a naturopathic clinic in Germany to then actually do actual studies. And this is a clinic that has just really, really expensive machines. And, they have the ability to do these third-party independent NIH-level studies, double-blind, blah, blah, blah. And so they're able to do these studies. So now the study is actually underway as of December 22, all right? So today is January 22nd, 2023. So these studies are actually ongoing right now, but they've been able to get some preliminary results. Let me share them with you from a post that Philip posted on Telegram. This is from Philip. I had a call today with a doctor of the naturopathic clinic in Germany that's been running the food allergy pilot study. They're using a greater than $40,000 medical device to accurately test allergic responses and reliefs, which can be measured on a very granular level. They tested gluten, milk lactose, and several other substances and sugar. And then while sugar doesn't create allergic responses, we all know that it is not healthy, and actually adds a lot of stress to the human body in many ways. If you didn't know, sugar is actually a poison. But still, most of us love sugar, and I do. So the clinic, were able to test a reduction in negative impact to the body by sugar in between 75 to 85%, which is phenomenal. So what that kind of translates to is this machine, or devices that they're using and the clinicians are testing subjects, are able to measure the stress responses, physiological stress responses in the body to stimuli. That's what it means. So until we get the study, we're not going to know the exact methods and materials and methods, right? Section of the study. We won't know exactly what they're measuring, but I'm guessing that they're measuring histamine levels, inflammation levels, and things like that to actually, that causes stress to the body, and they're able to see this reduction in those stress responses, right? So the other thing that they go on to that they discovered thus far, and this is very preliminary, is that regarding allergic response to other substances, right, food, things that you would ingest, they've discovered a 65 to 95% reduction in allergic responses when measured was measured when the substance was charged for 3 minutes in the travel block. Okay, which is the equivalent to an infinity block. So then Philip goes on to say, further good news, the clinic tested with 3 minutes charging. We believe that the time should be 4 minutes. So for the next phase, a more extended study and test series will move to the 4 minutes. We should get some preliminary graphs sent to us soon. This is very exciting, and I can't emphasize that enough. This is going to be the first independent third-party, double-blind, et cetera, study done using quantum healing for food allergies, and just the preliminary results are just amazing. It's demonstrating through an actual study that this is happening. So the testimonies are being validated with a study, and I think that is very important for this video, because it's not always about testimonies and happy customers, but it's also that we're doing third-party studies. Because, there's always the placebo effect, right? But if you take out the placebo effect, typically you just want to throw 30% of your results away. You're still going to have some incredible results. So that's the study that they've got going on, and this is what we know so far. Now, the next thing I want to share with you is my personal food allergy study. Once I heard about the Biohacker, test, then I went ahead and did my own study. So I just wanted to share with you. Now, I'm personally allergic to MSG. MSG stands for monosodium glutamate. It is a neurotoxin that food producers will put into food. And what it does, amongst a whole list of horrible things to your brain, when I say neurotoxin, it affects your brain. It's a toxin that's, affects your neural activity in your brain. And so why people use it in food is it convinces your brain whatever you're ingesting is really, really, really good. And it causes you to want to eat it again and again. It's like chemical brainwashing. I'm not kidding. Look it up. All right. So I happen to be really, really sensitive to it, and I'm really allergic to it because I grew up with my mother dumping it on everything I ate, and I think something happened to me. And so now in my adult years, I'm allergic to it. If I eat any MSG at all, okay, then I will break out in a rash, hives, itching. It's horrible. It's like the worst case of eczema you could have. And then right after that, it hits my brain, and I go into straight negativity, anger mode. And, it's neurotoxin, right? It's going to affect your brain. And so it's really, really bad for me. And I have to avoid it, or I used to have to avoid it. Like, explain why I don't now. So what I did was, to do my experiment, was I went off 660 for 3 months. For those of you who know my background, I'm very much into this carbon 60 supplement and blah, blah, blah. I won't get into it. But one of the things that it does is it neutralizes toxins, right? And so if you're taking it, no toxins are going to affect you. So I had to stop taking it. So I stopped taking it for 3 months. And so at that point, I became kind of like the normal me. And so then I proceeded to then subject myself to MSG. So I ate basically some Japanese food, and all Japanese food, as you all know, just like Chinese food, Asian foods are just heavy. These are heavy users of monosodium glutamate. And so then I ate a plate, and that's the plate right there in the picture. And so I had some furikake and some takoan and some seasoned nori, and then I ate that, and then I had an experience literally that night. I had hives on my arms, I was itching, and then, it lasted for 3 days, and I just got all grumpy, and just typical response, and I hate that, by the way. But this is for science. So now the quantum healing thing that I did was I just repeated the experiment that they did on Todd the Biohacker. So I waited a week for the symptoms to subside to prove that, I'm if I eat this stuff, it affects me. Point blank. So then I waited a week, all the symptoms went away, and then I ate the exact same meal again. But the second time, I put that meal in that block, my eye block right there, and I put it in there for 6 minutes before I ate it. And then I ate it. And then, of course, the answer was there was no reaction. The second time, nothing happened at all. Nothing. And so then it kind of proved to me that, it kind of emphasizes, and this is before the study, the preliminary results of the study came out, but it told me that, hey, there's something happening here, and it works, in this example, for me, my personal opinion, my personal experience. Now, I'm back on C60 now, I don't have to worry about it, so I don't really charge my food all the time, other than just wanting to get that quantum energy into it, but I don't worry about allergens. when I'm on C60. But the idea here, though, is that, hey, you know what? Charging it worked for me. That's my testimony. So we have some other testimonies I want to share with you. One about food allergies. And so I think it just kind of reemphasizes that, it's working for other people as well, who are also ignoring the disclaimer. You guys. And so, taking one for the science team, right? But again, if you are allergic to something, I just can't emphasize this enough. Philip emphasizes every time he talks about it. But, if you got something that's super serious and you have to have an EpiPen handy, or you go, because you don't want to go into anaphylactic shock, don't do this. Just don't. I only did it because the worst thing that could happen to me was rashes and getting pissed off about everything. Other than going into an epileptic shock and going to the hospital. So, be careful. Don't sacrifice yourself. But these other folks are just trying it. So this is what other people have been doing since this news came out. And so Mark reported that I have weekly appointments with a biofield psychotronic device called Metatron, where I bring certain foods items for allergy testing. Last week, the IB level 1 was able to transform food, black pepper, that I couldn't tolerate with negative percentage values to positive percentage values. I could eat them without negative consequences after charging for 6 minutes. This is amazing. However, the same transformed food items sampled returned to negative percentage values shown in the Metatron after they were placed in the fridge for a week. But when placed in the IB for 6 minutes they again showed positive percentage values. That's amazing because no one else here has figured out how long does that effect last. So what Mark's post is kind of alluding to is that not only it works, but it wears off. So heads up to anybody who wants to try this is eat the food right away, or eat the food. Should basically bottom line. If you're going to do this, charge it before you eat it. Don't charge it and then wait a week, as Mark has discovered. Now, Edward reports his quote field report. One of my friends is strongly allergic to lemons. At the smallest amount in the food, he immediately reacts strongly negative. So we put a lemon in the IB, which is infinity block, and he ate half of it. The result, absolutely no negative reaction, first time in his life. The second half of the lemon, we have then brought to an experienced medical practitioner, also with another untreated half of a lemon. Tested both on my friend using kinesiology, according to Dr. Klinghardt, whole nother subject, great science, without saying which half was treated. So they tested him with using kinesiology with the doctor, the 2 lemons. So here's the guy holding the 2 lemons, and if you know what I'm talking about. The result is the IB charged lemon tests positive, and the untreated tests negative. So there were no more questions. Not recommending to do so. Hey, someone that read the disclaimer, but it worked out for him amazingly well. So Edward, he's basically adhering to the disclaimer, but he's leaving his friend to try it. I love that one. All right, so now here's another testimony from Gary. Quick story about an allergy test that we did at home with the infinity block. My wife always had a physical reaction when eating pineapple. It's not a very strong allergic reaction, but it is uncomfortable enough that she stays clear of pineapple for the most part. When she eats pineapple, she has a burning or stinging sensation in her throat. I decided to test this following the example that was used at the Bulletproof conference on stage with Todd the Biohacker. I put pineapple into the infinity block for 6 minutes and took it out and gave some to my wife, and she said she had no burning or stinging sensation whatsoever. So since doing this for the first time about a month ago, she has now eaten pineapple 5 times and is enjoying it. So this is awesome. And here's another classic example of using someone as your guinea pig instead of you. So I'm sorry, I'm just joking. I think it's really funny. Okay, so now Nora reports her testimony for food allergies and quantum healing was that I've successfully used the Q block to eliminate reactions to food to which I have a sensitivity to, gastric issues, as well as foods to which I have a mild allergy, body reactions. It takes 3 to 4 minutes in the Q block. I have yet to try these foods in the I block. There are two foods to which I am highly allergic to, and I'm too much of a chicken to attempt these either. And Nora, thank you for sharing and Gary and everyone else that I've mentioned in this video. Thank you for sharing your testimonies. And I totally agree with you. If you got highly allergic, you may not want to tinker with that, but I just wanted to demonstrate that these testimonies and the preliminary studies are a remarkable result of the use of quantum healing for allergies. So this is what this video is all about. Wanted to share that with you, and I want to say thank you, for watching the video. And I'm going to just leave this video right after I sign off here. It's going to be a clip from Ian Mitchell, who actually owns and runs Wizard Sciences, but he's a very accomplished scientist on his own, numerous patents under his own name, former professor. Now he's an entrepreneur, and he's just a brilliant mind. And he's also the science advisor to Leela Quantum Tech. So there's a clip here from one of the. He was recently on. This is like 5 months ago. Ian Mitchell was on a podcast called Fix the People, in which he describes his story, the story of Todd the Biohacker, and then he goes on to sort of explain from a scientific or quantum biology perspective on why this is happening and how he sees it, he sees it working. So I just want to share that clip with you. It's going to follow this sign off so that you can kind of see from the science perspective, kind of why is this working and how is this happening. So I thought you might enjoy that clip from the Fix the People podcast with Ian Mitchell. So again, though, but I want to sign off. I'll leave you with that clip to follow this one and say thank you. I always appreciate your time. Your time watching these videos is very valuable. And and I just want to say I appreciate that. Thank you for watching these. I hope you've learned something. And I also want to encourage everyone, if you have the quantum tools and someone who's got allergies, use them as no, I'm just kidding. But just the whole idea though is that you could do this. It works. Here are the results, and the formal study will come, and I'll share that with you when it comes here. But it's just so cool because so many people have allergies in today's world, and here's something that could really help them with just the amazing features of quantum healing. So thank you very much. If you want to learn more about quantum energy, please visit Leela Quantum Tech or the Tinkers Academy on my blog, where I've got a huge section on quantum energy. The link's below in the video description. And thank you very much. And I'll leave you here with Ian Mitchell on Fix the People podcast, talking about the science behind how quantum healing works for allergies. All right. Thank you very much. Aloha.
One of the books that I had as required reading for my class when I taught at the university was Life on the Edge by Jim Al-Khalil and John Joe McFadden. And it's a real book, and it's really good, all about quantum biology. And it gives examples of ways that things that we aren't quite capable of perceiving yet are cascading up and becoming biological effects. So at the conference last year, I took a fella, Todd Shipman, who's a good friend of mine, and Biohacker Todd. And he's an endurance runner, ultra marathoner, but he has a horrible shellfish allergy. Like, we'll land him in the hospital kind of shellfish allergy. And so I brought him on stage, and I had a can of crab meat, and I opened up the crab meat, and I derma rolled his forearm and put the crab meat in it. And instant histamine reaction, big welts on the arm, puffed up, it's all red. And you can find this on YouTube. And then I put the crab meat in a thing called the quantum block, and which modulates things at a level that's kind of 2 layers below subatomic. So it's modulating things at sort of a waveform level. And I lectured about waves, and I said, everybody picture a wave. And I gave the audience a second, and I said, most of you are picturing something like this, because that's what we're taught. But that's not even remotely how it works, right? It's spheres, and they're moving and undulating, and they have chirality. So there's a spin to them, and they have a pressure and a color. And, there's probably like 17, 18 different dimensions that I can say, like, this is an actual tangible aspect of this thing to describe it. And when you start to look at that, you can get effects that are different. So then I took the can of crab meat out, and I derma rolled his other arm and put it on, and there was no reaction. And it seemed almost like a magic trick, right? Because, you obviously don't lose a histamine reaction in 3 minutes. But right. What's really going on is you're not actually having the physical expression of a histamine reaction isn't because of histamines. It's because you're having a destructive interference pattern happen at a waveform level, with your physiology, right? Because if you, from quantum physics, if you break things down below subatomics, at its essence, what you have is all these vibrating patterns that form an integrity that coalesces to form molecules that then form, your biological components. So if you affect it at the very forefront of when it's starting to become manifest in reality, then you can modulate that and get a shift. And so that's pretty much what I did is I just modulated that. So instead of having a destructive interference pattern, Todd had a constructive interference pattern. So he didn't have a reaction. It just suddenly it was modulated so that thing worked with his biology. It's kind of like smoothing out the edges of the molecules because it's not as detrimental when it impacts your physiology, right? It goes through and instead of scraping you, it's smooth. And that's all it really is. So, things like that, it's hard to assess, but that's where we are in science right now is like we're at the level when I run a spectral analysis on those compounds, there is no change if I run, gas chromatograph or high pressure liquid chromatography, right? So like I run something through that and it says it is this thing. And that's as far as we get usually, right? Science basically is we're stopping at this is a box and the box is this. We haven't really started to look at what's inside the box, right? That's like the quantum part where we start to take into account how are the electrons spinning? What's their orbital pattern? What happens when we get those things coherent? Is there a difference if they're in phase and in coherence? And there, as it turns out, there are, they're big differences, right? Like I'll run an analysis on something in the lab that says it's the exact same compound, no different from the same source. I'll quantumly modify one and then run it through reduction oxidation potentials and get numbers that are entirely different. It still reads out as the same compound, but the way it interacts with reality, totally different. And that's kind of
Boom.
that's where we are, right at the edge.
Boom.